Chapter 3. Cracks. Everyone but the Marines moved to the back of the store, hiding behind shelves full of boxed and canned food products. The Marines took up defensive positions between the checkout counters. The pilot kept his pistol at the ready, while the other 3 Marines trained their assault rifles on the secured entrance. Logan could hear thumping on the roof of the store as invaders climbed around. An eerie, fearful silence blanketed the survivors. Logan still fought to remain conscious. His surroundings came to him in waves of sights and sounds. After a few minutes, the assault the Marines thought was coming never happened. The creatures outside had moved on, and the occupants of Field Foods were safe for the moment. The helicopter pilot, Lieutenant Joseph Ironson, approached the civilians hiding amongst the long aisles of shelves. He unzipped his bomber jacket in relief and took his aviator sunglasses off. He said, "You can breathe easy for now. They're gone." He then looked at Logan's unmoving form. "Is he still with us?" Eve, who had been cradling Logan's head in her lap, said, "Yeah, but he was wounded. I can treat him, but I need bandages and stitches." "Private Ritter has a first aid kit. I'll get it," said Ironson, turning away to get the kit in a hurry. Oswald rubbed the sweat from his bald head with a stained handkerchief before standing and addressing the scared crowd. It seems we're safe for now. Help yourself to some food in the store. I'll talk to the Marines and see what they know." "I'll join you," said John. "I want to know what the hell's going on." An elderly lady who was sitting next to her teenage granddaughter spoke up. "I think we all deserve to know what is happening, boys." The crowd began to murmur, and Oswald said, You're right. I'll ask them to tell us all what we're dealing with." "Right." Private Ritter helped Eve patch up Logan. He had a hell of a headache and his eyebrow was swollen, but he'd be okay. Oswald spoke to the Marines and they agreed to tell everyone else what they were up against. The survivors were all gathered together in the break room of the store. Candles were lit as there were no windows. They cast a campfire-like glow upon the faces of the Marines who were about to address the small crowd. Lieutenant Ironson, the highest-ranking Marine of the squad, stood and began. "Yesterday at 0700, there was a police report in Maine of attacks from unknown assailants. The first casualties found were the mangled remains of a well-known hiker and his significant other. Reports of attacks became more frequent over the course of the day, mainly from smaller towns. The National Guard were deployed on the East Coast with little to no intelligence. No one knew what exactly the threat was until Manhattan fell." He looked over at the other members of his squad, who all had grim expressions. He continued, "We are under attack from some kind of subterranean humanoid species. They are faster than the fastest sprinter, stronger than the strongest lifter. They can absorb a full magazine from an assault rifle and remain standing. Some of the bigger ones can even take a shot from a 50 cal. They are ultra-intelligent, and some reports say they can speak to each other in their own language. So far, the only way to kill one is a shot to the head or complete decapitation." "Bullshit," said a large, antsy man amongst the crowd. "What part is bullshit, sir?" asked Ironson. "You expect me to believe that we're under attack from, what, mole people?" Private Ritter jumped to his feet so quick it seemed like something might have bit him. He said, "Yeah, because that's exactly what we're dealing with." "Stand down, Private," commanded Ironson. Ritter sneered at the civilian, but complied before the lieutenant spoke again. "I know it sounds far-fetched, and I don't think I truly believed it myself until all armed forces in the States were called to fight. We fought them using our most up-to-date tactics. We lost. We've been trying to radio HQ, but all military channels have gone silent." Sergeant Dillion leaned towards Ironson and whispered, "You sure we should be telling them all this?" Ironson whispered back, "No more secrets, Sergeant. The rules have changed." The elderly lady said, "We're being judged. It's the apocalypse." Her granddaughter elbowed her and said, "Shush, Grandma." "Maybe it's aliens," said someone else from the crowd. Eve had taken John's hand. She believed in God, but never claimed to be overtly religious. After hearing what Ironson said, she might try to find a Bible to read. "Won't let anything happen to you," said John, looking deep into her eyes. Hearing that, she remembered why she loved him. She smiled at him as everyone began debating whether the invaders were mole people, demons, or aliens. She looked around for Logan, who she seen leaning against the wall in the dark corner. He had his arms folded in a downcast gaze. The couple got up and approached him. Eve said to him, "You okay, Logan?" Unmoving, he said, "I am." "A lot to take in, huh?" said John. "Indeed," replied Logan, who appeared to be a million miles away. "Are you sure you're all right?" said Eve, putting her hand on Logan's crossed arms. He looked up at her and said, "You see the man there?" He pointed to a loud-mouthed, meathead-looking guy. "He's the one who said bullshit to Ironson. He may pose a problem. And the girl with the elderly lady, she is promiscuous, so to speak. And at such a young age. I'd say she's 16 or 17. I don't fully trust the Marines either, save for perhaps the pilot." John raised an eyebrow and said, "How'd you figure all that out?" "By watching, listening, and reading body language." Oswald's voice cut into their conversation, causing them to turn to the candlelit area of the break room. He said, "Let's all take a moment to collect ourselves and have something to eat, huh? Plenty of food for everyone. We might be here a while." "It's too dangerous to go outside," said Ironson, "especially at night when they're out in force. Like the manager said, we might be here a while." "Great," groaned John. The days dragged on and soon turned into weeks. While cabin fever was setting in, Logan devoted himself to learning everything he could about the people they were stuck with. He couldn't bring himself to trust anyone else except for John and Eve. Glenda, the elderly lady, became the cook, as she could do amazing things with a few ingredients. Logan was right about her granddaughter, Tabby. She had propositioned him several times, only to be brushed off. She finally found a companion in Oswald, and they would disappear into his office during the late hours when Glenda was asleep. Michael, the loudmouth, began spending time with the Marines. He finally believed them about the invaders and kissed their asses to the point they started to make fun of him behind his back. Logan tried being cordial to the man, as he did with everyone else, but for whatever reason, it was obvious Michael did not like him. The Marines stuck to themselves for the most part. They kept watch all day, and even through the interminable nights, and did not permit anyone to leave. They tried varying military radio frequencies over the course of a couple weeks, but never heard anything from anybody. Cabin fever began affecting them as well. Logan asked Lieutenant Ironson how their helicopter had been damaged. Apparently, they had stumbled into a roaming group of the invaders while flying at a low altitude. One of the creatures managed to leap into the air and slash one of the engines. It seemed far-fetched, even when Ironson called the particular creature a leaper, but Logan believed him. There was a single mother and her 5-year-old child that Logan did not perceive as threats. Eve would play with the little boy to keep him distracted, but Logan knew it was to keep herself sane as well.